Greetings. Hola. Enchanté. This is Conversations with Queen, and I am Queen Goddess Infinite Love. And I'm here today with Dr. Zuleika Hepworth Clarke. She is the Jamerican Sexologist. She has 2 master's degrees, one in social work and one in education. And she also has a PhD in human sexuality. Today we'll be talking about sex, love, all of the above. So let's get started.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from?
I was born in Boston, raised in the Hudson Valley in New York.
Okay.
And
is that upstate or near the city?
Yeah, it's between the city and Albany on the Hudson River.
Okay.
Yeah, on a farm.
A farm?
Yeah,
Wow.
organic vegetables.
Organic. You seem very organic. Okay, so tell us more about that. How long did you live on a farm? What was that experience like?
Well, it's been in the family since 1818, and so I'm 8th generation farmer. And
she's a farmer.
Yeah, female, run, operated, and it's just really a privilege to be able to watch and nurture plants grow, and the whole process of picking and packing and shipping them to their fate of nurturing others.
Now, the values and things that you learned growing up on a farm, or even how you watch things grow in seasons, did that affect how you grew as a person?
Probably more than I realized, yeah.
Okay, well, everybody's on their journey of self-awareness and consciousness, so that's beautiful. So what led you to study human sexuality in undergrad?
Yeah, my mom said I could study whatever I wanted, and I was like, oh, okay.
Well, that's always an opportunity. My dad was like, do you want to be a lawyer or a doctor? Pick one.
Right.
But Dad, I'm 8. Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So with that freedom, even going into bookstores, I was able to explore any aisle that I wanted and just pick out books that were that I was drawn to. And I just was always fascinated with humans and the diversity, and traveling around different parts of the world, I saw that people operated in different ways and loved in different ways and related to each other in different ways. And it's easy to take for granted what's normal in our culture, but it shifts when you go to different places. So being aware of that, the diversity and the abundance of love at an early age, I really became interested in a new field where I could contribute.
Okay.
I didn't feel like I could contribute a lot to mathematics or physics or other subjects
But it's funny that you say that, because the natural sciences really are from the indigenous populations. Like, everything that has been externalized and formulas through science has already been internalized spiritually by indigenous cultures or farmers or people who work with the earth, anything that's natural around us. So you are a scientist, hidden figures.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I specialize in sexual sciences, so.
Yeah, that's a social science.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even down to sacred mathematics, definitely you are a contribution to mathematics just by allowing yourself to hold sacred sex energy that you talk to everybody about. Speaking of going to other cultures and knowing all about that, I know you're a world traveler, so tell us more about that. How many countries have you been to?
I think I'm at 61 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So give us 3 of your top countries and maybe an interesting experience in each.
Oh, that's hard to do, but I have to say Brazil is on the top. And Carnival was an experience in Salvador de Bahia, and it's just filled with beautiful people of African descent, and the music and the culture and the spirituality and the vibration was just the respect for nature and the dancing and the music and the tastes and the sounds and the smells and the weather and the beaches and the freedom. And also,
one day,
clearly have a different understanding of what it means to be human. You know, a lot of conditioning, racialized conditioning within the United States has projected I am black woman, but in Brazil I was morena clara, which, you know, they have, I think, 36 official races.
Wow.
So they have a different, you know, in the United States it was the one drop,
You're black.
you're black, but in Brazil it was a one drop of whiteness, you're whiter. I don't know, it's like the reverse. So they have just different history with colonialism, and you could feel it, and it was amazing. So I highly recommend Brazil.
Okay.
I have to say Jamaica because the sunsets in the grill are spectacular.
And why else? Is that place special for some reason?
I am also attached to the sounds and the smells and the music and the taste and the food
And why do you think you have such a connection with Jamaica?
Oh, well, I'm a Jamerican, so I have family there. My father's family is from there. My grandmother's there. My aunts and uncles and cousins and friends, and you know, it's
Beautiful.
Just, the green, the water, and the diversity within the island is, and the history, you know, it's just very powerful, and the spiritual systems that have.
So talk more about that. Spiritual systems, like tell me what your spiritual system is, or maybe a favorite spiritual system that you saw, or aspects of ones that you saw traveling all around the world.
Okay. I like keeping open, and I feel like my spiritual system is focused on love, and
Love is my religion.
love is
Isn't
my
that
religion.
Ziggy?
Yeah.
Is that your cousin?
Yeah, I would say Uncle Robert Marley. Yeah.
Okay.
My cousin.
Do you play soccer too, or no?
I do. Football. Yes.
Football.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I play a little soccer. Gateway Gators. That's dope.
Yeah.
Any other sports that you
Cricket.
like playing? Cricket, really?
Track.
Yes. And what did you run in track?
I was a sprinter, but I specialize in the 400 hurdles.
I did the hurdles once in 9th grade. It was like, this might not be for me. I got balled up a couple times.
Yeah.
Too many somersaults. Now, how did that go?
I like the 200 and the 300 and the 100.
In the hurdles?
Just no hurdles, you know. The hurdles create barriers.
I knew that was where you
Get
were
it
going
there.
with the metaphor. Hurdles, barriers. Let's clear out all the hurdles.
But sometimes you gotta just
jump up
get
over
over
them. Right.
and push through and pace yourself and save energy and give it your all.
Wow, that's amazing. So, were you good at track?
I broke 4 school records in high school.
4 school records.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, why do you suppose that happened?
I don't know, you know, Usain Bolt is pretty fast. He's from the parish, over from the parish that my family's from.
And parishes are the
Like
different
states, kind of.
communities and states, provinces that are in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Okay, dope. So, it's just because you're Jamaican you could run real fast?
I don't know. I feel like that could be a part of it.
It could be a common thread.
I'm
I mean,
not
just
sure.
look at the Olympics,
Because-
right?
Yeah, it was just a natural speed that I could tap into with tuning into my ancestral legacy.
Inner being.
Yeah.
That's dope. Okay, so sports, traveling in that third country, somewhere over the Atlantic, maybe.
Well, I have to shout out the Pacific Islands.
Really?
French Polynesia was pretty amazing.
Wow.
Bora Bora. You just have the indigenous vibe is still there, and the blues of the water, the turquoise, just the tropical.
I'm visualizing it right now. I wish we were there. Maybe your next interview can be someplace beautiful.
But how could I not say motherland?
Of course. I was going to roll. I was like, let's do a bonus
12
one.
nations in Africa. And
what are they?
Oh, so I studied abroad in Accra, in Ghana.
How long were you there for your study abroad?
6 months. Yeah.
Wow.
I hitchhiked to Timbuktu on my spring break.
That's a real place.
Through Burkina Faso and Mali. And that was an incredible experience.
Sounds incredible.
Ooh.
Were you by yourself?
I was with 2 other black femmes, and we were just getting there. And my mom had traveled from the northern part through the Sahara Desert by herself.
Wow.
To Timbuktu.
She sounds amazing too.
I went from the west coast, so
yeah.
I was like, oh, we'll get there in a few days, because, it looked really close on the map, but all the maps are distorted because they want to shrink Africa down, that's not, anyway, so it took a lot longer. She's like, if you don't get there in 7 days, turn around. I was like, I'll get there in a few days. On the 7th day, I made it to Timbuktu in the Sahara, and
that's special numerology.
I was ready to go back
home.
To Accra. That was my home at the time. It feels like home. It felt like home immediately when I got there.
Wow.
Even though I've never been there, but I could
You sensed it.
Yeah.
I can't wait till I can go to the motherland. I actually have a brother in Kemetic Yogi. Shout out to him, who's in Ghana right now. There's a retreat going on. Maybe I'll go to the one in the fall. We'll see. Let's manifest that.
Yes.
What else?
Well, I went also to Togo, and then I also I studied in Nairobi in Kenya, and also I studied in Uganda, and then I was in Rwanda.
Wow.
And Burundi and Tanzania, and I snuck into the Congo for a couple of days.
Okay, so backing up just a little bit. A comparative question. How would you compare the cultures or the feel of the cultures in Eastern Africa, like Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, to Western Africa and Accra?
Very different, yet there are many similarities. The main difference I could sense was between Francophone and Anglophone countries. So there was in Kenya we had tea time. There was tea breaks. Well, that was just studying. Studying. And then the breads in Francophone countries were just really tasty.
Oh my God,
they had that extra.
And you've been to Paris?
I have.
Paris
yes, I have.
amazing.
My god family is Paris.
Oh.
Yes,
Parisian and Jamaican. Look at that.
They're Nepalese.
Nepalese.
But they're Parisian. They're Nepali and Paris.
If you need to Google any of this, please do. Anglophone means English speaking. Francophone means French speaking. That would be the people that colonized those nations, and then they have since been liberated, so to speak, in whatever their independence days are. You can Google that too. It's the age of information, but there's nothing like experience. And as you can see, Dr. Zell has a lot of experience. And you spoke about traveling with other black femmes. So, since we're talking about femme now, we'd like to have the conversation about pronouns. So, what are your pronouns?
Doctor. And also they, them. And I really like gender-neutral pronouns, or just non-binary pronouns that allow us to unlearn the patriarchalization of language. So there's a lot of new ones, or they're not even that new, but they're new to people who haven't been exposed to non-binary cultures, or have been unlearning the language.
When you were learning a lot of different African languages, were there more words that were non-binary?
Oh yeah, so a lot of indigenous African languages are genderless. Yoruba is a genderless language. There's no need for us to differentiate based off of gender, which is a colonial imposition, for us to distinguish humans in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you can feel there's a different vibe, but you can also feel the survival and the forced cultures of imperialism and colonialism.
Now, how did you feel when you went to Rwanda? Did you sense the atrocity that had happened there?
Yeah, I also felt the healing and the transformation, and what I feel is community and the power of women in Rwanda specifically is pretty dope. You know, they have like the highest representation in government, you know, top 5 in the world. Cuba's on the list, and I think one Nordic country.
Go to Cuba.
Cuba was amazing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Rwanda, yeah, you could feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel in South Africa. I could feel apartheid. It's the history is still.
I feel
present.
it over here. I found out I was over a quarter South African, but I kind of knew that because I just felt like this overwhelming connection to that land, and it wasn't just watching Serafina, because you know, if you haven't traveled to a place, we transport culture through film, through media, through books, through television. But there was just something about it that I just felt connected to. So South Africa for me is a place that I can't wait to go to, and really already feels like my home. I had a journey when I was in Paris a couple years ago where I met these South African young men and women who were doing, shout out to Vusi, who was doing the Patsula dancing there at a theater, and me and my friends stayed afterward. Shout out to the Airbnb lady who gave us the theater tickets, who ran the theater too at the university. And we traveled with them, and we just went across the city with them. And 3 of them from South Africa were like, "You look just like somebody we know." And I was like, for real. And they were from 3 different provinces.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I must be South African. But then I got a DNA test like 2 years later, and then boom, there I was. I am South African. And I was like, that's amazing. And that's actually very uncommon for the DNA tests that come back for most African Americans. I also came back that, you know, the Spanish was in there from the Iberian Peninsula. So that's interesting to me too. But I also felt connection through music. So places that you have been are places that I'm definitely, you know, manifesting to go, because I already feel that connection there. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what the future holds. I'm excited about what your future holds, Dr. Zell. So my pronouns, to continue that conversation, is just infinite. And as far as like identifying, so when I break down the word identity, it means I define, or I am of finite, which I am not of finiteness. You can look that word up if you need to, but infinite. So as Queen Goddess Infinite Love, Goddess is fine, meaning God is infinite, eternal, and then love, and God is love, and I would add and light if, you know, it wouldn't be extra super long. So Queen Goddess Infinite Love, I mean, I consider myself just goddess, like andro, if you will, sometimes femme. I might be a little tomboy sometimes when I'm playing basketball or something, but when I'm around my femme boys, I definitely get extra femme with it. But that's that. So how would you identify yourself? Well, you said femme, but
yeah. A recent identity I had was demi-femme, which speaks to, I feel femme most of the time. But I'm also non-binary in that I'm not using outside perceptions of me define who I am, and really take each moment and check in with transformation and authenticity and truth within myself. So I basically keep open every day how I don't pick up my clothes from the night before. I wake up and I say, how would I like to express myself and manifest myself? And that could be in an androgynous way, that could be in a femme type of way, that could be in exploring. I'm not,
it's a spectrum.
I'm not confined to one area of the spectrum, that I can be fluid.
That's a word I use for myself, especially as a water sign. I definitely feel fluidity everywhere. I think that we do definitely live in a very binary type of society here in the United States, and that fluidness is not something that we're used to. It's more like rigidness. Yes, please have some of your tea. And I love tea on this show, as you know. And since we're taking a tea break, yes, it is good. I add a little something extra special to that. We're going to take a tea break and come right back and talk a little bit more with Dr. Zell about these interesting subjects. And we're back! The conversation's going really good. We've been talking about everything that's everything, right? Mm-hmm. Fluidity versus rigidity in our society.
And that leads me to...
Cheers. Abundance, Ashe.
Abundance consciousness versus scarcity consciousness, which we have been conditioned to.
Which means a zero-sum game, which means that there's not enough to go around for everyone, even though there is. So it's just an illusion.
So we want to hoard things and possess things, and that's scarcity model, as opposed to abundance.
Yes, this is more of that. And flow. Yeah. We only talk about and manifest what we want. And so, aren't her hands strong though? Like I felt that energy. Like let's flow with the strong energy. Strong hands. You know I can't open jars. I knock on my neighbor's door just to get my jars open.
Unless I'm around, and I will open it for you.
Ashe, thank you so much. So, in talking about abundanceology, the study of abundance, or abundance existence, I am, shout out to Abraham Hicks, and being a part of Source, that we are Source, our inner beings are the source of all things, or the vortex as they like to call it, or God, or however you want to refer to that which is infinite, that which is love, and that which is light, or momentum, or electromagnetic field that exists all around us, that we don't see with our eyes, but we can certainly feel with our hearts and our minds and our bodies and all of our energy fields and our energy centers, or inner chi. So as we continue this conversation, I'm going to have some of this abundance right here, this good fruit.
Okay.
High antioxidants. Shout out to my vegans. Yes. So you were talking about abundance, fluidity. That's what I was talking about. And I think all of those things are important. So tell us a little bit more about how you experience fluidity and abundance in your life.
Okay. Well, I like to keep an open mind and a non-judgmental mind, and offer myself compassion and practice mindfulness as much as possible, because it helps decolonize us. Neurodecolonization can be facilitated through practice of mindfulness and tuning into the pluriverse, the abundance of the universe, and that there can be different worlds that can exist simultaneously without hierarchy. Without hierarchy.
That's the most important part.
Without hierarchy.
Right. Also known as the multiverse to some people who might not be familiar with that.
Similar, very similar. Definitely.
Very similar. The multiverse doesn't have hierarchy either, though.
Oh, no.
I can see them used as plural and multiple being used as synonyms. So, but
sure,
absolutely.
And exploring your inner verse for inner standing,
absolutely.
Not understanding. And in Jamaica, we have overstanding, or that's a kind of overstanding. Yeah.
Yes.
Zimi. And so, keeping open to what that could look like. Things change and transform, so I want to keep open to what can potentially be pleasurable, what are my desires, who am I, and being open to manifesting in a way that breaks free from oppressive forces that could have been internalized from being out in the society and the systems that can give us messages. You know, I'm hypersexualized. I am, you know, people just project their own reality onto me, and as opposed to self-determination, self-actualization.
So she's throwing out a lot of vocabulary words for you guys, so we are going to slow it down just a little bit. I know all these words, but for the wider audience, the lay audience, the lay persons in the congregation, we're going to start with self-determination. It's funny, Kuji Chakalia, but not in that aspect. So yes, that is something that's a part of Karinga's Kwanzaa that has been created, but without going down that path, talking about self-determination, because we actually said the same thing at the same time, defining yourself for yourself. And I think one of the key points is it's important to understand through Sankofa, like what has happened to us, what had happened before what happened to us, whether it's whether it's colonization or whether it is the pre-colonial existence of us. And so that we can understand that there is decolonization that is possible. So that was one of the things that she mentioned. But I think it's also important to talk about that when you're talking about self-actualization and you're talking about your inner verse or your inner being or your source place or your I am that I am, your existence place, esoteric existentialist place, that we only focus on what is that we need to be for what we want to have in our lives, not what we think should not be, because you give more energy to anything and vibration to anything that you focus on. So even in calling yourself resistant, it's important that you focus on what it is that is abundance, because in focusing on resistance, you actually give what you're resisting more power. Not, again, discluding or disqualifying that it needs to be addressed or that you need to be aware of it. But once you're aware, then you let it go and you flow into the river of abundance and focusing primarily on that. So when there's a clan member or an anti or a colonist or rigidity or any of these things, you're still just floating down your river of love, peace, and kindness, and you don't even give them any vibrations or attention. So they end up throwing stones at themselves, at glass houses, and you're not even in the same dimension as them, so they didn't even throw anything at you for real. It was block like the Matrix, when the bullets came at Neo, and then he was just like, stop. At first he ducked, right? And did all that. And then he was just like, no, you're done. And they fell. And then the next stage after that is there are no bullets. There's only you. There's only love. There's only peace. There's only joy. There's only kindness. There's only harmony. And if you do see or find contrast, you know that's not what you want. And you don't focus on it. So my thing is the solution to decolonization is complete radical self-love, such as talked about in the book, The Body is Not an Apology. You should look that book up too. But anyway,
that was actually key in my finding was...
Yes. Okay, start that sentence over again.
That was key in my research where I was looking at what sexuality and gender could be without cis heteropatriarchal colonialist mentalities. In other words, just the
powers that be.
The the people who hold power have
Fight the power.
dominated.
Fight the powers that be. Don't believe the hype.
Production.
Right.
And so it, even speaking English, limits my understanding of...
Ooh, etymology. Let's get into
Yeah.
that. Linguistics. I
Mhm.
love that.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me more about how limiting that you
Well,
believe
what I was
English
going to
is.
say
Yes.
before I get into all that, is the importance of self-love.
Yes.
And that in my process towards decolonizing my mind, my sexuality, my spirituality, my sensuality, my understanding of love, my everything, I understood the power of self-love and how transformative that was to unlearn and combat the negative forms of oppression associated with colonialism.
Correct.
And so I created a model called autosexual decolonization. And autosexuality speaks to love of self, auto being self. And so really tuning into the self-love as a way of unlearning negative forms of oppression like misogyny or the hatred of black women, or genderism, the assumption that there's only two genders that are binary and hierarchical that exists throughout all times and all cultures, which is not actually the case, but they want us to believe that there
Right.
are only two genders when
They've
there aren't even
indoctrinated
two
us.
sexes. There's biologically more than 5 sexes. There's chromosomally, we think of XX chromosomes associated with female bodies and XY chromosomes associated with male bodies, but there are men with XX chromosomes, there's women with XY chromosomes, there's also XXY, there's XO, there's lots of different
There's
combinations.
a plethora of
And that's
different
not
things.
what defines gender. Is not based off of your genitalia. It's not based off of what the doctor assigned you at birth. Although if it happens to align, as in cisgender folks, where the sex you were assigned at birth matches your identity, which matches your self-expressions, which matches the gender roles that you prefer in your lifestyle, that's great. And you have a privilege when you walk and don't have to think about certain things. That is, So,
Right.
So.
Let's breathe together. Yes, a little shimmy, a little shake. Yes.
Woo.
So as you can see, Dr. Zell has so many things to share. She teaches at Lincoln University. She also helped to co-found an entire major at Goddard University in Vermont. She is exquisitely intelligent, as you can see. Absolutely, takes one to know one. And brilliant.
Everyone has their own inner genius, and you nurture
Absolutely.
it and can manifest it, and finding your purpose in ways that you can contribute to society and community.
I mean, your existence is genius. If you really want to go there, I mean, we are doing billions of functions every moment. I mean, we've lost billions of cells and regenerated them right during this conversation.
Our innerverse is working.
So, right,
in our
innerverse
favor.
and literally our outerverse. So, and the electromagnetic fields that
There's
are
so
around
much
us
going
in between
on.
us.
That's working in our favor.
So, like I said, as you can see,
I want to
Dr.
shout out
Zell
Gravity
has-
for holding me down. Sorry,
You know
I was
what?
just
No,
feeling
do
the
your
power.
thing.
Like, wow, I'm just really being held right now by gravity.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to
And
that.
the ecosystem, like, we're breathing air. So, thank you, trees. Yes,
Right.
like,
Yes, all of that.
plants. Yeah.
So, as you can see, Dr. Zell has a lot of information to offer. And as I was saying, she teaches at Lincoln University, and she also helped to co-found a whole entire major and department at Goddard College in Vermont. Yes.
Yeah, it's a concentration now. but
Yes. So, what's
we'll-
that concentration?
It's a sexuality studies program, and it is specifically anti-imperialist, anti-racist sexuality education. So it's unique in that it's going to be centered voices from historically marginalized populations, like people of color, like trans folks, like non-binary folks, like ethical non-monogamy people, and all the diversity that
So
is
if
going
you
to
guys
be
want to know more about that type of stuff, you should check out Goddard College, check out our concentration, and if you would like for Dr. Zell to teach at your university, or if you want to try to tenure her to your university anywhere in the world, because she studied all over the world, as you have heard, then please get in contact with her. Her Instagram is Dr. Zell. Or Zuleika, what's the rest of your Facebook?
Zuleika Hepworth Clarke.
Zuleika Hepworth Clarke. Dr. Zell is DRZEL on Instagram. And also, as she was saying, we're going to take a few moments here and appreciate Gravity for holding us down. And I'm going to appreciate Light and Love for holding me up. When nothing else could help, love lifted me, okay? Right?
Yeah.
And also the trees and their symbiotic relationship with us. We can sit here and talk about this stuff forever, and I promise you that Dr. Zell will be back on the show to talk about every subject under the sun, in the sun, over the sun.
Oh, we didn't even get to talk about the sun.
The sun, right?
Oh, wow.
All that, all the love, the sun,
So much
the
love.
moon. Oh my God, the moon, right? The water, the stars,
the water,
the water,
the water,
the water.
Water's life.
So I'm gonna do a little bonus feature just for her because she needs to talk about this, and it is called Oceanality. And so you guys might be familiar with Yoruba. If you're not, it is a West African religion, and it is tied to a West African culture and people known, and even ethnicity known as the Yoruba people, often centered in Nigeria, but the culture and religious practices have been transported all over the world, especially into the Caribbean and Santeria and other practices. So without further ado, Oceanality. Go ahead. Tell us about it.
Okay.
Yes, for the ancestors. Oshun.
Okay. Let me attempt to define this. It's more so a paradigm that's sex positive or sex critical and African centered and non-Western or post-colonial technically. Anyway, Oceanality, Oshun sexuality, and really, if you're familiar with Yoruba and Orishas, with that.
So Oshun is an Orisha. The Orishas are the multiple manifestations of one god that has multiple names depending on if you're going with Nigerian, Yoruba, or Santeria, or what have you. Oshun is one of those, and Oshun represents what?
And also energy matrix, and it's so hard to put into English words. When I think of Oshun, I think of abundance, joy, pleasures, sensuality, love, fertility, joy, fresh water, such as waterfalls, lakes, rivers.
Yes. There you go. Now tell us about the Oshun Festival in West Africa.
In Asumbu, in Yoruba land in modern day Nigeria, where they pay homage to Oshun at the Oshun River, and they're just acknowledge the power and significance of this spiritual system and way of knowing, and I just can't give justice
You
to
can't
articulate.
contain that.
It's
right,
so
the
much.
immensity
It's
of it
just
is
so,
a lot.
It's so powerful, and to summarize it, it's just
It's a disservice, right? You can't summarize something that is immense.
And also, because I'm speaking English, it's already doing a disservice to how the tonality and the words and the meanings get lost, because Yoruba is a genderless language, and then you have speaking English, you have the patriarchalization that occurs because we have assumptions that are just problematic anyway. So yeah, Oshun is definitely something to know about if you're interested.
And even if you, also Googling it still doesn't do it service. No. However, if you want a starting place, because this is something new that you're hearing about, you never even heard the word Yoruba before. It's spelled Yoruba. Look for Nigerian. I also think it's worth it to mention Vudan in Haiti, and it's not what, again, we've been indoctrinated and inundated with in our patriarchal, westernized society, or the Prince and the Frog. Like, that's not what Vudan is, or any of these spiritual systems, as we call them, but even calling it a system is like still like a Western word. But the immensity of it, the experience of it, to know ourselves, that Sankofa piece, to go back and understand that Yoruba is 8,000 years old to at least recorded history, and even Egyptology and Egyptian, so on and so forth, is only 5,000 years old in recorded history, and Samaria is not even as old as the Yoruba culture, and we can go further with Zulu and other cultures that exist all over the motherland that were here and had spiritual systems that connected with the source energy, that connected with God and otherworldliness, or the pluriverse or the multiverse before we even got here. So it is not something to be contained even in a conversation, but simply through a feeling and a spirit, I think, is the best way to do that. And to call on that and to connect with that, that's when I'm going to light this frankincense and myrrh. As you know, I like to light sage, Palo Santo, and now we're going to light this incense of frankincense and myrrh.
Peace. I am Dr. Zuleika Hepworth Clarke, the Jamerican Sexologist, and you're watching Conversations with Queen on Open Voice Media.